What's going on, guys? This is Miasin. So today I'll be going over Salamangreat because the new support is honestly extremely good and the deck is definitely back to being top tier. I actually heard that someone won a regional with Salamangreat, at least one person, and some other people topped. Maybe some other people managed to win regionals, and a lot of people are back to picking this deck up because, again, there's a new Stratos, a new Link 4 monster that searches any card from the deck to the hand when it's re-linked, which is pretty wild. And this deck, of course, can play a lot of hand traps, a lot of board breakers, and can play with pretty much just one or two cards. So it's extremely consistent and really reliable in like a long tournament. So today I'll show you guys 5 combos as well as a deck profile, but of course you already know the drill. Before we go any further, please make sure you smash the like and subscribe button. It is by far the best way to motivate me to keep making videos like these. And again, I am making you guys happy by making, you know, a combo and a deck profile at the same time in the same video. But anyways, let's get right into combo number 1. Okay, so combo number 1 is really simple. It's pretty much just a reminder that pretty much 2 cards in Salamangreat always leads to an OTK because it is a Cybers-based strategy, meaning that you always have access to an access code summoned with Update Jammer. And that's pretty much game because it's like 8600 damage and your monster can attack twice and destroy a bunch of cards. And you don't really need to go into transcode, but if you want to, you can go into transcode so that your access code gains an additional 1000 attack. And then you pretty much do 2k damage, and you get to destroy an Earth monster, another card on the field because you got an Earth monster to banish. But it's 1 extra space in your extra deck, and it doesn't always come up, so it's really up to you. But yeah, this is already enough to kill your opponent, and Lady Debug can actually do that on its own. So that's 1 card OTK, but I don't really recommend playing Lady Debug. Anyways, combo number 2, and this is where it gets interesting. So Salamangreat of Fire is a 1 card combo, so that's the Stratos, like I said. You're gonna be normal summoning that and Surge Gazelle, and then Chain Link 1, Chain Link 2. There is a drawback though with Salamangreat of Fire. It's the fact that for the rest of the turn, you can only summon fire monsters, special summon fire monsters. It's kind of annoying, but you know, when you're playing a fire deck like Salamangreat, it's not the end of the world. The only thing it does is that you can't really summon Deco Talk or Heat Soul, even though it's a fire, because you need to summon at least 1 non-fire if you want to be able to summon it, because get back the Jaguar with its effect, recycle back the Gazelle with Sunlight Wolf, very standard combo, and then you link summon the Raging Phoenix and then relink it. So usually we were always doing relinking Sunlight Wolf, but it wasn't really doing anything because we didn't really have any Salamangreat spells and traps in our grave. But now this is the new play that we're always going to be turboing out every single time, and this card is actually cracked. So I'm going to read it to you guys, but the effect is kind of obvious. If this card is link summoned using itself as a material, you can add a Salamangreat card from your deck to your hand, and the graveyard effect is also relevant. So if a face of fire monsters you control is destroyed by battle or by card effect while this card is in your grave, you can target one of those monsters, special summon this card, so the Raging Phoenix from the grave, and if you do, this card gains attack equal to that monster that got destroyed, that monster's attack. Yeah, whatever, you get the point. And you can only use each effect once per turn, so yeah, it's a 1 card. You get like a Rage that can destroy 4 cards your opponent controls, doesn't target, which is really stupid. And we've got Gazelle in our hand, you know, that's pretty nice. But yeah, that's it for this one. Let's get into some slightly more complicated combos. Alright, so this is honestly also really simple. So if you have Sided Mining with a Spinny, or if you have Salamangreat of Fire with Spinny, it's double trap cards this time. So it's 2 interruptions. So you're going to be searching the Gazelle, and then link off for Veilings, Chain Link 1, Chain Link 2, summon the Gazelle. And you're going to be sending very specifically for the Roar, not the Rage. It's not the same thing because Roar has a graveyard effect that allows you to get it back from the graveyard into the spell and trap zone whenever you relink a monster. When I say relink, I mean link summon a monster using its own name. It's just that there's no official term for that, if I recall correctly. But anyways, now you're going to be going Chain Link 1, Raging Phoenix to search the Rage, and Roar is going to reset itself back. And just like that, you got a Pop 4 with an Omni Negate, using only 2 cards. And you got, again, a follow-up play, a Stacked Graveyard, and a Link 4 monster that, you know, does things. Because, you know, if your Raging Phoenix dies, you just go, okay, that's fine. Revive back Raging Phoenix and then gain a bunch of attack. Sure, it doesn't change anything to my life. So you always have like a way to keep playing every single time, because your graveyard is like your second hand with Salamangreat, and that's honestly the beauty about this deck. Alright, so combo number 4, and I want to demonstrate that even when things aren't looking too great, it's not the end of the world. There's always a way to play. So in this hand we have 3 hand traps, Book of Moon, and Desires. And Desires, you know, you don't really want to start with it because when you start immediately with Desires, you might banish a lot of important cards, and sometimes you might banish your one of Gazelle, which is so annoying. And here we're going to be getting a 4th hand Shop Effect Veiler with our 1-card starter, so we can finally play. The one drawback is that Desire is banished, Spinny, Gazelle, Will, Rage, and 1 Jaguar, 1 Foxy. So we still have more copies of Spinny, Jaguar, and Foxy because I don't play 1 of each. But I only play 1 Rage, I play 2 Will, and Gazelle is limited. So now we have to combo off without Gazelle, but don't worry because we can still do a few things. So we're going to be searching the Weasel, and then we're going to be also getting the Sanctuary with the Veilings, and then Relink, special summon the Weasel because we have 2 or more Salamangreat cards in the graveyard. Well, Salamangreat monsters, actually. And then Link into Sunlight Wolf, Weasel effect, revive back the Veilings to our opponent's field, and we're going to be drawing a card with a Weasel. And since a monster was special summoned to the zone the Sunlight Wolf points to, we can recycle back a fire monster from the grave, and we're going to be getting back the Salamangreat of Fire. So this was a really unfortunate turn of events because we banished the one of Gazelle, but we can still turn a Salamangreat of Fire into Sunlight Wolf, give our opponent a monster, which is really beneficial because against Kashtira, this is going to screw them up, and we're also getting a draw with a recycle back. So it's honestly not too bad for the very, like I said, unfortunate circumstances of banishing, you know, relevant cards with desires. But you kind of have to play the card because when you're playing so many hand shops in your deck, you're gonna be breaking very often if you don't know what you're doing. Oh, and by the way, if your opponent tries to crash the Veilings, it's not gonna do anything because now we can just put the Sunlight Wolf to 0 attack with the effect of the Sanctuary, and then protect it with the graveyard effect of the Veilings because we have 2. So yeah, against Kashtira, if your opponent doesn't have something very specific like normal summon a monster and then try to link it off, it's not gonna do anything. And we also have Book of Moon to flip face down the monster that he tries to normal or special summon. And we've got, you know, Imperm and Veiler for whatever else your opponent could try to go into in order to break this board. It's not gonna work. This deck should have a very good matchup against Kashtira because of this very specific reason. Weasel destroys them. Anyways, combo number 5. This is the most interesting, but also you don't really have to do everything that I'm doing. It's really just to give you an idea because there are a bunch of correct ways to play this out. But my hand is very interesting. Sided Mining, Roar, Jaguar, Will of Salamangreat, and Book of Moon. My opponent has a very, very good hand, so it's gonna be really rough to beat this. But don't worry because when there is a will, there is a way. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, anyways, the Sided Mining, discard the Roar, is gonna get ashed. It's so unfortunate because I don't have much to play with, but Jaguar and Will is a full combo if you kind of know what you're doing, but not really. It's just like if you have the correct extra deck set up for that, which is a little unrealistic. But anyways, get back the Roar because we're reeling the Veilings, and then Splash Mage, revive back the Jaguar. And this is where it gets a little random. Like, in theory, you could go into Heat Soul there and just call it a day. But I decided to just say screw it and then combo off a little too far. You know, play Link Decoder, Transcode, and Terahertz. And then send the Gazelle so that my Will can revive back the Gazelle. Again, it's an option if you want to play this package in your extra deck. Takes up 3 cards, or 2 if you were already playing Transcode because you need Link Decoder as well as Terahertz. And you can also send the Cyber's Desabworm to have a fusion, well, a Spell or Trap negate in the form of a fusion monster that you have to play in your extra deck that you're of course never going to be summoning. But yeah, now we also get a draw in the process because again, the effect of Weasel, which is a free extender, so it's a card that we're searching with Salamangreat of Fire, and then special summoning, link off into Sunlight Wolf, give our opponent any Salamangreat monster, doesn't really matter too much, but yeah, could have been Jaguar, could have been Gazelle probably, not the Veilings because we need in the grave to protect one of our monsters. Definitely not the Salamangreat of Fire because the graveyard effect is kind of like in a Chi-Chi, so when your opponent tries to crash, you can just destroy your own monster at the start of the damage step, which is also relevant if you have Ibli, by the way. And Ibli is really nasty with Sanctuary. Your opponent can pretty much never, you know, destroy it. Anyways, draw phase, whatever, Terahertz, send the Cyrus Desabworm. Book of Moon, flip that Jaguar, and then Field Spell for the Rise Art. Not gonna be doing anything. I can negate the Theosis, and then negate the Talents with the Roar. Anyways, that's it for the combos. Now let's get into the deck profile. Alrighty, so now for the deck profile of Salamangreat featuring the new support from Soul Burning Volcano. Before we proceed, friendly reminder again to smash the like and subscribe button. And now let's continue. So I am playing a very minimalistic package of Salamangreat monsters. So, some people are going a little heavy on some of the cards I don't really agree with, like Salamangreat Tiger. I think the card is a complete piss. I don't really recommend anyone to play that card. It's a level 5 monster that you get to summon by discarding another Salamangreat card or something. Absolute shit. Don't play it. Anyways, I'm also not playing Lady Debug or Buffalo because I only want my Salamangreat monsters to take up my normal summon. Buffalo is not too bad because even under Shifter and under Rizard and stuff like that, you can still use this effect and it will work because you have to discard and it's also not a cost, so you can also chain block, which is not too bad. But yeah, Salamangreat of Fire is always your normal summon when you draw it, or Foxy could also be your normal summon. And more often than not, if you have like Foxy and Spinny, you're going normal Foxy, no effect, and then you get to discard the Spinny, revive back the Foxy, make a Mirage Stalio, summon Gazelle or Salamangreat of Fire, and keep playing from there. So yeah, I mean, Foxy is a really, really good normal summon, but you're not really trying to desperately see it. And against decks that play Floodgates, like there can only be one, Foxy is your ticket out of there. And Scale Drain is also a card that you can out with the Foxy, so yeah, Labyrinth is not a really bad matchup for this deck. And you can easily adapt to Labyrinth post game 1. And if you're going first against Labyrinth, more often than not, you're just going to immediately insta-win. Because your setup is nasty. You're going to end on a Rage that can destroy 4 cards without targeting again, and the Raging Phoenix. So there's kind of like nothing your opponent can really do about it. Obviously, if you're playing against the Furniture build, it's going to be rough because they might have Nibiru, which is the one card that completely shits on this deck, unfortunately. But again, it is what it is. Anyways, I'm playing 2 Jaguar. I don't really think you need to play 3, and 1 is not enough when we're playing Desire, so I usually play 2 copies of pretty much every single card that you know, you can't really access to very easily with, you know, Desires. But if you don't want to play Desires, if you have like anxiety when looking at this card, because I know I have, you can replace it with something like Triple Tactic Talents, or maybe more board breakers. Like Kurikawa is actually a really good one. Doggoran is also not too bad because they're fire monsters, so you can recycle them back with Sunlight Wolf. There's no other synergy. It's not like this deck is playing Small World either. You could maybe fit in Small World, but it wouldn't really make any sense because you already have so many one-card starters. Like, consistency is not an issue. Like, you got Salamangreat of Fire, Circle, Gazelle. Even Foxy can be a one-card starter. I mean, it depends on your RNG, but usually, if you don't have a one-card starter, you have a two-card combo anyway, so it doesn't really matter too much. I am playing 3 Spinny, though, because I actually like drawing this card. It's good, and it combos off with pretty much every single card in this deck, obviously, except for Jaguar, but at least allows you to OTK with Jaguar if you're going first, second, as I have established in combo number 1 of this video, actually. But yeah, 2 Foxy, again, I'm not really trying to play 3 when I'm already playing 3 Salamangreat of Fire. 1 Weasel, you're not trying to draw multiple copies of this card either, because if you want to special summon this card from the hand, you have to have at least 2 or more Salamangreat monsters in your grave. They don't have to have different names, but still. But yeah, the Graveyard effect is like absolutely cracked against Kashtira, so if you're going first against that deck, bro, it's checkmate for them. Anyways, 12 hand traps, of course, so 3 Ash, 3 Jewel, 3 Veiler, 3 Imperm. I want to say these are probably the best hand traps that you can play in your deck this format if you're not really trying to play board breakers either. Book of Moon is the only board breaker that I'm playing, but again, Kurikawa and Doggoran, Triple Tactic Talents, all those cards are really good options as well. 3 Salamangreat of Fire, that's just way too obvious, I don't really have to explain that. It is the Stratos of the deck. Some people could consider playing 2 copies of this card if they're playing other kind of normal summons, so they're not going to clash too much. That's also very respectable because this card is not good to draw in multiples, and it's not really a card that you're trying to discard either. Unless you have Will of the Salamangreat, then you can discard it and then revive it back and then get your search anyways, because the search is on normal or special summoned, so it's fine if you don't hard draw this card. But yeah, 21 monsters, and then for the spells, like I said, 2 Desires, 3 Silent Mining. Again, Silent Mining and Spinny is broken. It's going to be 2 Interruption, so Rage, Roar, as well as Raging Phoenix, Gazelle in hand, or Salamangreat of Fire in hand, but it's not as good, I want to say. I mean, it depends, maybe. I don't know. 3 Book of Moon, obviously, it could be Book of Eclipse. I don't really care too much. 3 Salamangreat Circle, plays around Droll, really good. I think it's just a matter of time before we're finally going to get back 3 Gazelle, because like, Circle used to be at 1, 2, but now it's back to 3 and nobody really cares, so this card could, I mean, Gazelle could go back to 3, who cares? At 2 Whale, you can play 3, but that's too much, and 1 is not enough, so that's usually my explanation behind everything, that you're not always turboing out really early, and you still want to play more than 1 copy of this card because it's good to draw going second. It's not like the trap cards, for example. I'm only playing 1 Roar and 1 Rage because going second, you're not really trying to see these cards, and you're always trying to surge them when you go first, so it's not a good idea to play too many trap cards. But the spell cards that, you know, get your stuff going and stuff like that, those are the cards that I'm trying to, you know, play more than 1 of. But yeah, 40 card deck list, and for the extra deck, 1 Mirage Stalio. That's the only rank 4 Xyz monster that I'm playing. I am not playing Falco in this deck list You could, but the only thing that it really does is loop your spells and traps. Yeah, maybe bounce back your monster. I mean, I don't even think that effect is used that often. I mean, it depends, but it's because of Salamangreat Fire, this deck changed so much that it's not even the same thing anymore. I mean, yeah, if you really want to play Salamangreat Falco, you really have to fit in Baguska or Dweller. But Dweller is not really good this format. Baguska is actually pretty good, so if you want to play that, go for it. But you don't really need it. Anyways, 2 Raging Phoenix, those are the Link 4s, well, the Link 4 monsters that you're always summoning turn 1. Access Code is the one that you're summoning going second when you're trying to OTK. Deco Talker Heat Soul is a card that I almost never summon, but if your hand is absolute piss, with this deck list, you can at least go Splash Mage, revive back a monster, make Heat Soul, draw a bunch of cards. So Jaguar is a 1-card Heat Soul. It's not ideal, but, you know, we'll take what we have, right? You know, when your hand is garbage, it is what it is. Spinny, unfortunately, is not a 1-card Heat Soul because it gets banished when it leaves the field. So if all you can do is normal Spinny, make a Link 1, then revive back Spinny, and then Link 2, you're not gonna have anything to revive back for Splash Mage, unfortunately. But yeah, Update Jammer. This is for the OTK with Access Code. Phoenix, I mean, it's a Link 2 fire monster that destroys spells and traps. Whatever, I mean, it's free real estate, and you can draw cards when, with Sunlight Wolf because it points up and Sunlight Wolf points down. So it's really convenient. Hita, that's also kind of not that relevant, but when you can actually turn really bad hands going second into starters because you can crash the Hita and then search a fire monster with 1500 or less defense. I think all of them, literally no exception, have 1500 or less defense, so you can search pretty much anything. The only fire monster, ironically, that you can't search is Ash, but you can search Kurikara. So, if anything, this might be a good reason to play, you know, Kurikara in the main deck at least as a one-of. So if you want to do that, go for it and maybe cut the 3rd Spinny or play 41. It doesn't matter too much. I mean, I don't think the maths are really going to change when you have like a card that's searchable anyways, but that's actually a really good combo. And if I recall correctly, Hita does not have to be sent to the graveyard in order to search. So even under Shifter or Rise Art, if you get to crash that Hita, you can still search the Kurikara and break your opponent's board. So those, you know, that's a good reason enough to play Hita, but again, this is a fire-based deck. It's so easy to go into this card and potentially go up. And there might be some nice fire monsters that you can always revive back from your opponent. I mean, everybody plays Ash, so that's already one of them. And here's 3 Sunlight Wolf. This is the kind of card that you can play at 2 if you're really good with this deck. But, you know, with 3 copies of this card, at least you feel safe. You don't feel like you're always under pressure and stuff. 1 Splash Mage with, you know, it gives you access to Deco Talker Heat Soul, and then 2 Veilings could also be bumped to 3 if you really want to. Lingribo. So again, this card could facilitate some Deco Talker Heat Soul plays when you only have Salamangreat monsters, because it's a dark monster, but you can turn any Salamangreat monster into it, and you can also negate trap cards with it, so it's really relevant against Labyrinth and against decks that might potentially consider evenly matched against you. So Lingribo is actually a really cool card. But yeah, so that's it for the extra deck. And for the idea section, this is where it becomes really nasty because I have so many good ideas for this deck, honestly. So, I mean, Nibiru is the kind of card that you can either play or counter with Crossout Designator, so you can fit in this card. My issue with Crossout is that all it really stops that kills you is Nibiru. The other cards aren't even that good against you. I mean, Ash, Veiler, Imperm, whatever. Ghost Bell is pretty bad. Droll is also really bad. Like, you barely have any cards that search, and the Salamangreat Circle plays around Droll anyways, so it's not that... I don't really care too much about Crossout, honestly. I mean, I care about Nibiru, but I don't care about the other hand shops, so that's the reason why I wouldn't even consider this card. Parallelic Seed doesn't really make too much sense. It only allows you to make rank 4s. Traptrix Rafflesia is a decent one because you can send Gravedigger's Hole and then negate Nibiru, but I mean that's just copium, honestly. 1 Falco, 1 Buffalo, I mean Falco and Buffalo if you want to. I already talked about them. More hand shops like Ghost Bell, Cyber's the Zabworm with the Terror Hertz package. A bunch of cards actually that you need for that. Dweller, Baguska as rank 4 options. Talents instead of Desires if you want to. Small World to be able to search your board breakers more easily. Call by the Grave so that you can negate a bunch of cards that don't even kill you that much because you can't negate Nibiru with Call by, but you can negate Hieratic Seal, and that's a card that completely destroys Salamangreat. This deck really loses to anything that bounces or banishes your cards or Book of Moons your cards when you're going second very specifically. But otherwise, I mean, it's whatever. It's like, these cards aren't really going to beat you going second, is what I'm trying to say. Like, Book of Moon, if they're trying to break your board, doesn't do anything because all of your monsters are Link monsters. But again, if you're going second and you're eating a Book of Moon on your normal summon, it's gonna be a little tough. And for the trap cards, I'm considering Goes and Match, Rivalry, and Solemn Strike. So Goes and Match might be the better one this format. Everything is fire, so there's no conflicting. Rivalry is also decent because everything is Cyberse. But again, if I had to pick only one of the two, it would probably have to be Goes and Match. I just think it covers more ground. And Solemn Strike is overall just a good card. There's also Solemn Judgment. Whatever you prefer. Anyways, that's all I had for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.